Good morning, it's 9 o'clock, Monday, March 4th, 2019. I'm going to call this meeting to order. Michelle, if you do the invocation, then we'll stand for the pledge.
Almighty God, who has given us many faiths, thank you for the blessings of liberty and free conscience celebrated in this town. As we bring our truths to the discussion of public issues, may we offer them as contributions to one another, not as weapons, as we rejoice that we need not think alike to love alike. We pray this in the multiple names which arouse in the citizens of our town the awe of the holy, the sense of community, and the impulse to service. Amen.
Amen.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. So next is approval of the final agenda. I only have one that I want to pull, consent F. I have a question on.
Yes, and we're going to move Citizen of the Year a little later since he's available at 10:30.
Yes, and we'll move Citizen of the Year from when Mr. Babcock gets here. Is there any?
I'll make a motion to approve the final agenda, pulling item F from the consent agenda and moving Distinction Award to a point unknown.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Motion carries 4-0 with Butcher excused absence. Public comment?
I have a request from Gaylord Hendricks.
I'm Gaylord Hendricks, and I live at on St. Peter's Drive, and I'm here because of the stormwater easement that you folks have back of my home. The water should run to the back bay. It's blocked by a fence, and it's been blocked there for many years. I built my house 26 years ago, and it was blocked way before that. And I have met with 5 of your employees. They're all aware of the problem. That would be Molly, which is no longer here, Joe, Roger, Robert, and Chelsea. And I am aware of other employees that you have that know about the problem. I've been working on this thing for a long, long time. There's a picture of Sigel George. Anita was mayor at the time. I've been working on it a long, long time, way before the town was a city. Also, running into that easement, someone on Anchorage, 2 people I know of evidently, had run pipes also into the easement, causing problems. That should not be either. My home has flooded in the basement, the lower part, and I sat pretty high. Now, when that water hits that fence, it bounces off, runs over to the neighbor's home, floods at least 2 of those people's garages badly. Even in this last 2.5-inch rain we had, I took pictures of the water on that fence that Roger said he would give.
Sir, you need to talk into the mic.
Which I can't hear. Sorry about that. Yeah. Roger wanted me to take some pictures of that, I think, which I do have on my phone. The water got pretty high back there, but due to the dry weather, it drained out into the ground. Let's see where I'm at here now. I'm thinking, after all these years, don't you think that this thing could be enforced? And has anyone told the attorney to inform these people that it is a blockage? And also, Robert, your permitting man, allowed this fence to be put in there. And he also told me in November that this fence has to go. It's there, and he's responsible for putting it in there because he permitted it, and even your code enforcement allowed it. Now, something wrong with that whole picture, guys. So if you're in doubt, you want to see the problem, it's bad.
Thank you. We'll talk with the town manager after the meeting. Thank you.
What's that, hon?
I said I'll talk with the town manager after the meeting about it. Thank you.
Okay.
The next request I have is from Henry Gore.
Oh, my God.
He's your husband.
I know.
I think he's wonderful.
Hi. Henry Gore, Tracy's husband. I just want to say how very proud we are of Tracy. She puts her heart and soul into the town. And as for people like Ray Murphy and others, they should be ashamed of themselves talking bad about her. And that's all I got to say. Thank you.
I have no other requests.
Is there any other public comment? Yes. Wait, Dan, hang on. Okay, let's go ahead. Dan.
Yeah, sorry. Dan Allers, for the record. I just wanted to come before you and kind of give you some input as to why I voted personally for the new kiddie pool at Bay Oaks. They went with a company called Vortex. They've been around since 1995, and there was some issue as to their warranty. Anyone that's been in construction knows that a warranty is only as good as what is written on the papers. So most of the stuff that I've done some research on it, and most of the stuff that's in here is been around a long time. All the structure itself is going to be a new model. It has been, the materials that are going into it have been here forever. I just wanted to give you a couple of numbers that I was able to find out. Last June, for instance, the pool alone, the kiddie pool brought in $3,378. They averaged 88 kids per day, and 4,277 people used the pool in June. 1,689 of them were kids. Now, to put that in perspective, for June, July, and August of last year, the revenue for the pool was $35,710. In comparison, the entire pool, money that was raised by the pool for the total fiscal year was $67,575. So although I agree that the way we got to using this company, I would have liked to see maybe it go out for bid, but because of the structure itself, it was danger to the children, it had to be raised. And they want to get this done before school's out so that we don't lose out on the revenue from the summer camps. So if we don't get this approved, that won't be done in time, and that's a lot of lost revenue for the pool. So I just wanted to give you that. And their references are pretty substantial. I mean, they've done structures in 50 countries for several different people. And this is just a couple of the latest ones. The one that really stuck out to me was they've done 2 of them at Disney World. And I figure if it's good enough for Mickey Mouse, it should be pretty good for the town of Fort Myers Beach, right? But there's a bunch of information here if you'd like to see it. And that's about all I have as far as why the majority of us decided that we thought, although we would have liked to see it go and get out for bid, time is of the essence of this, and the lost revenue would be very detrimental to the pool. And one last thing, since I have a couple seconds, I was looking over the noise ordinance thing, and as I was out this weekend, I noticed the sign, and I've noticed it before, but I never paid attention to it. Next to Yo Taco, it says 800 feet to exit of the island. This 1,000 feet, essentially, someone could be standing in Kia Stero parking lot and be 1,000 feet away. Now, I have not the greatest hearing in the world, but I know it'd be hard for me to tell where that noise is coming from 1,000 feet away. Just some thought, that's all. Thank you.
Thank you. Is there any other public comment? Oh, my mother's here. Oh, my God.
Joanne Semmer, for the record, Tracy's mom. I just want to tell you how proud we are of you, me and our entire family. And we want to thank you for your service to the community.
Thank you, Mom. They should really let me in on these things. Is there any other public comment?
Morning, Bonnie and Dave Ennis, Primo Drive. Since today is Mayor Gore's last meeting as mayor, we would like to take the time to thank her for all her hard work taking care of the residents of our island. She burns the midnight oil many nights working on projects and problems of the island. We would also like to thank her husband, Henry, for sharing this amazing woman with us. Henry and Tracy are in the shrimping business and have their own shrimp boat. Henry is gone for weeks at a time, only has a week or two to spend at home when not shrimping. This leaves them limited time to spend together. Thanks for sharing her, Henry. Thanks to both of you for being our friend and neighbor. Remember, Mayor Gore, Primo strong. We love you, girl.
Thank you. Is there any other public comment? Okay.
Shadle, and I just, in reference to the
I'm sorry, sir, could you please restate your name?
Tim Shadle,
Thank you.
the noise ordinance, I think would be a foolish move to pass based on somebody's own opinion of what is excessive noise. I just think there's the decibel meter, at least you have proof. There's a way to substantiate. With somebody's own opinion, I think it's inviting legal action, and probably you'll lose every time because there's no way to justify it or to prove it. And I just think that I would leave it with the decibel meter reading and go with that. That's what I would do. Thank you.
Thank you for your opinion.
Mayor Gore, these comments that are about the noise ordinance, do they need to be sworn in as testimony for the
Well,
public
this
hearing?
is just public comment if they
Okay.
want to come during
Just
the
checking.
actual
Thank you.
ordinance. Yeah.
Madam Mayor, board members, staff visitors, Leon Moyer. Yes, I've spoken many times up here, usually not in a pleasant way, and I apologize for that because I appreciate what the mayor has done and all of you. So I wish you well, whatever you do, and I hope you stay involved in town government. We need you. Thank you.
Thank you. Is there any other public comment? Nope. Yep.
Marty Campbell, Hercules Drive. First of all, I want to thank the entire council and Roger for all the positive things you've done in the last few years. The short-term rental ordinance, I know it's been on the books since '03, and thank you for finally enforcing it, since I was woke up at 3 a.m. yesterday morning from a monthly rental 2 houses away. We need to keep that on the books, and we need to enforce it. Living on Hercules Drive, of course, we've been up here many times. Our dock was removed wrongfully 3.5 years ago, and you all finally approved everything, and we are progressing. We're going to have a dock here very shortly. They're doing a fantastic job, and we appreciate it very much, all of you. And also, you know we were here for stormwater, and you really worked with us. We appreciate it. We saved a lot of our trees, which we didn't want to lose so many, 50-some trees. The street looks beautiful, and just want to thank you all, and especially Tracy, because you do listen, you return calls, and we appreciate it, and good luck in the future. Thank you very much.
Other public comment?
Grant, Crescent Street. Tracy, I had something written, but I'm going to just thank you very much for your last 3 years on council and your last year as mayor. It's been great. You return all the calls. You do burn the midnight oil. I know, see you across the canal. I mean, you've been great, but I'm going to be happy to have you back as a neighbor, you know. So thank you again for your service. And Dennis, thank you for your service. We'll look forward to 3 more years. Thank you. Thank you, Tracy.
Thank you. Is there any other public comment?
Hi, Bobby Kemp, resident. Good morning, Mayor, Council. I just want to thank you, Tracy, for your hard work. We know your heart's in the right place. We know you're a very hard worker. Good luck in the future and have fun.
Thanks, Bobby. Is there any other public comment? The comment is closed before my sister gets here.
We're going to skip to over Tom Babcock, Advisory Committee Items and Reports, the Audit Committee. Mr. Rodwell?
Jim Rodwell, Chair of the Audit Committee. I am here to make my report to you about what we have been doing, which unfortunately is not very much. We only had one meeting for a while, and that meeting was to review the contract with our software. Our auditors are now here, and I had the pleasure of meeting with them. And I have asked them this time around, please do not give us a 150-page report. Make it a little bit easier for us to read. Other than that, I have nothing else to report. Now, if the new council comes in and has anything for us to do, we'd be happy to accommodate you and see what we can do to help out. That's all I have to say. Thank you.
Thank you, Jim.
Thank you.
Tracy, my best wishes.
Thank you. Approval of the minutes, A, B, and C.
I'll make a motion to approve them.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Motion carries 4-0 with excused absence for Councilmember Butcher.
I'll make a motion to approve the balance of the consent agenda, which is the canvassing board composition, resolution ratifying the telephone system replacement, professional service employee contract renewal for Mr. Flickinger, and Mount House membership event, and the St. Patrick's Day Parade.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Motion carries 4-0 with Councilmember Butcher excused absence. And so F is the one that I pulled, and the only question I have is, I think we need to subject this to the ABT sign-off. Roger?
Yes, Madam Mayor, the process that we've utilized is to allow the council to weigh in on a special event, and that's happening this morning. If that's approved, then Jason Green or the Community Development Director on behalf of the town will sign off on the form that goes to ABT, and then ABT signs off. So that's the process. We don't want to sign off on the form and send it to ABT before we have council approval of the event. So that's the sequence.
And I spoke to the applicant's representative over the weekend, Kathy Potter, and helped explain to her how this is done because she hadn't done it before. So she spoke to ABT in Fort Myers office on Friday. She filled in the paperwork. She's working with them today, getting the notarized thing, notarized paper, and that. So I agree, we condition it, and they are working on it.
So it could be a motion approve a special event on Saturday, March 16, 2019 at the Women's Club, subject to alcohol sign-off by ABT?
Well, and they can have the, okay.
Second for discussion.
Second. And the discussion is, though, they can still have the event, but it would be without alcohol. I mean, I think we approve the event, but they can only serve the alcohol portion of it with the ABT. Does that make sense? So I don't know if that's a different motion or not.
I don't think so.
It's the
Okay,
same.
just so they understand.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Motion carries 4-0 with Councilmember Butcher with this excused absence.
Tracy, if I could, just on the St. Patrick's Day Parade for FYI, it is the 16th, not the 17th. It's on Saturday, the 16th. Periodically, it occurs on a Sunday. I don't know how many years, 6 years, 7 years, and the church is just too crowded for that, so they move it to the 16th.
Thank you. The next one is a public hearing. I will open up the public hearing. Town Attorney, has there been sufficient publication?
Yes, ma'am.
Michelle, would you mind reading the ordinance?
Ordinance 19-01, an ordinance of the Town of Fort Myers Beach, Florida, amending Chapter 14, Article 2, Noise Control, short title and territorial scope, findings and purpose, definitions, noise disturbance prohibited, prohibited acts, exceptions, waivers, enforcement, penalties, civil remedies, rules and regulations, codification and Scribner's errors, conflicts of law, severability and substitution clause, modification, and providing for an effective date.
Roger, any overview before we take public input?
Madam Mayor, members of council, just to refresh everybody's memory, that this subject originated from council comments at a council meeting that then got moved to an M&P for purposes of discussion. Staff was asked to see if there's a way to augment the current ordinance. We provided council with alternative to the current ordinance, not in the form of a replacement, but as a way to, in the absence of a noise meter, to also be able to determine if there's a source of noise that's too loud. The criteria that the council decided on first reading was 1,000 feet away from the property line of the originating source. I'm not an engineer, but I did look at some engineering websites, and what I was able to conclude is that the 1,000 feet is probably a less restrictive standard than the decibel standard. So it's not a case where it's more restrictive, but at the end of the day, it's up to town council whether this is needed, whether this would be helpful, or not. So it's before you due to that chronology of events, and it's up to you to determine whether the decibel meter system is adequate. That's been in place for many years.
Okay, before we have council discussion, I'll take public input. Is there any public input on this?
Yes, I have a request from Doris Grant.
Good morning again. Doris Grant, Tracy, council. I was on the original revision of the noise ordinance committee, if you will, and I think it was probably in the spring 14 or 15. Anyway, in reviewing this, we put a lot of work into that, and then it went, before council. And I'm looking at this 10 p.m. to 7 a.m. I would say eliminate that. It should be 24/7. If you're going to do it at all, it should go round and round, because many times there's, and it has happened, there's noise, whether it be construction workers with their radios on, could be music coming from Times Square, etc. So I would say eliminate that time and just put it 24/7. Okay. The 1,000 feet of the sound source, if I had my druthers, I would say 500 feet. I guess in order for me to hear that, I have to be 1,001 foot from it. I'm not really clear, or do I have to be within that 1,000 feet? So I'm not really sure. I think, oh, you were speaking on my time?
Yes.
Okay.
Thank you. Yeah, it's beyond the 1,000 feet.
So it would be 1,001 foot
Yes,
or
ma'am.
more if I have to do that. Okay. Well, that being said, then I definitely would go for 500 feet. I would not, okay, the 1,000. And I know we have in there a volume control that is management is supposed to put in. Well, sorry, folks, that's a joke. There may have been volume controls put in, but they've not been connected. So when you're at bars, certain bars, and the bartender has to run around and go to the band and ask them to turn it down because he or she has no control over that. So that is not being observed. I like the sound source. Decibel meters, we're back to that where the sheriff shows up, they don't have a decibel meter. That could be during the evening, could be all day, daytime. So I like the sound source, but I would definitely say within 500 feet. And one more little thing, I'll pull up real quick, that OSHA says decibel level after 11 p.m., according to OSHA, is comparable to the sound of an average air conditioning on the offending property. So that's OSHA's, and that goes in 1999. Thank you.
Thank you, Doris. Is there any other public comment, input?
The Mayor, Board, Leon Moyer. I spoke on the first reading also. I haven't changed my position. I still think we probably should go with the decibel reader. But here's the big issue. This town is changing a lot. It's not the same, and noise is becoming more of a problem. Last night, I had a neighbor on a boat playing his radio very softly till after midnight, and I could hear it inside my boat. It actually kept me awake a little bit. So, you know, it wasn't that way when I came here just 3 years ago. I was the only boat out there where I'm anchored. Now there's 20 boats one day out there. So you have a problem you need to deal with, and you need enforcement. That's the issue. It doesn't matter so much whether you pick 500 feet, 1,000 feet. Let's go out there and have somebody enforce this, because it is necessary. Things are changing. We're losing our quality of life. Thank you.
Thank you. Is there any other public input? Public input is closed. Council discussion?
I'd like to start. I have really labored over this, as you know, and wanted to come to second hearing because I hadn't fully made up my mind. I appreciate the town manager and town attorney getting me some legal opinions and getting all of us legal opinions, and also the letter from the Sheriff Marcino with regard to enforcement. That being said, one of the public comments earlier talked about the subjectiveness of this, but our ordinance intentionally copies Lee County for ease of the sheriff enforcement. And Bonita Springs, interestingly, has exactly the same thing. And all three of them, you know, we all talk about the decibel reader, but and that's part A of the ordinance. But all three of our ordinances also have this part B, which is the noise disturbance. And it's very clearly defined, and it's not based on the decibel reader at all. It defines noise disturbance as one or a group of excessive, loud, harsh, raucous, harmonious, or non-harmonious sounds or vibrations that unreasonably disturb, alarm, injure, harm, or endanger the health or welfare of a reasonable person with normal sensibilities. And that's what they call reasonable standards. And those things are prohibited in 1423. It says, the occurrence of the conditions, acts, or omissions as described in either subsection A, which is the decibel reader, or B, which is these other set of standards, which are not decibel meter based, are all prohibited. The point I'm getting to is that I do not think at this point that adding these things enhance our ordinance. We have the subjective and the objective already in the ordinance. I would not subject our base officers anyway to going to a door after 10 p.m. They're not trained for, let's just say, civil disturbance. The sheriff's office is. I wouldn't want to put our base officers in an unsafe situation like that. And I think that the 1,000 feet is almost a lesser standard. That is so far away. To me, if this disharmonious activity or noise that's prohibited is happening at the house next door or 2 doors down, it's all covered in here, whether it's 2 doors away or 10 doors away or 1,000 feet or 500 feet away. I believe it's covered in here. And so I think the standards are in place, and the problem is enforcement. And I don't think that adding this increases enforcement. So my personal feeling at this point is, yes, we have a problem. And just like other problems we've had recently, that we've worked with the sheriff's office in coming up with some more solutions, some more strategies, I personally would like to either table this or not do this, whatever the town council's preference is. But I think we need to meet again with the sheriff talk about the ongoing safety strategies that we're currently doing and how the sheriff and we can get our noise ordinance best enforced, because I think we have a sound ordinance, and that's the conclusion I've come to. So I'm not in favor of these changes at this time.
Dennis?
Well, the only thing I would say, Joanne, about putting base in those positions, base doesn't work past 10 o'clock. So they wouldn't be in a position to enforce that past 10 o'clock. So they wouldn't be in any kind of a situation they weren't trained for. So, you know, that takes them out of the equation. I think that, like I said before, I support it simply because the decibel meters don't work. They're never available most of the time. Sheriff can tell us all he wants to say is everybody's got a decibel meter and they're all trained on them, but they're not. And the fact of the matter is they don't have them 99% of the time when they show up with a noise complaint. So their hands are tied, and the only person that takes the bad part of that is the resident that complained, because the sheriff's not going to do anything because he doesn't have a decibel meter or is not trained to use it, doesn't have proof that it's calibrated properly. Their hands are tied with the decibel meter, and all we're doing is subjecting our residents to this extra noise pollution. I think this here is it's very simple. You're 1,000 feet away. You got a cell phone that says 1,001 feet. Can you hear the noise or not? Don't have to be trained to do it. Don't have to do nothing. The sheriff comes, the deputy comes, he can hear it or he can't hear it. End of story. You don't have all the other paraphernalia that just muddies up the water. And you know, I think that part of our job up here is to help protect the residents, and not just, and I think this is a great tool. Roger's been around a long time. I respect his judgment. He's given us another tool, the sheriff's office, another tool in the toolkit. And for that reason, I'm going to vote for it, period.
Anita?
My position was basically what Joanne just stated last time, and I'm glad that she did some more research on it. Far more detailed than I was about it, but I appreciate that. Doris was right. She was on that committee, and that committee worked really, really hard with the sheriff's department to come up with an ordinance that was enforceable. I was surprised to read the sheriff's note that this change would make it enforceable, because we had struggled with so many issues of unenforceability prior to, and that letter was very surprising to me. I wouldn't hang my hat on it, to be quite truthful, unless you're going to have a copy of it with you so you can show someone when they come. I believe that the ordinance is strong, and that, as has been previously said, the problem is enforcement. And I think that a further discussion with the captain of the West District would be tremendous, because there are too many people, I hear too many times, I didn't call because I know they won't do anything. I didn't call because they're not going to have the decibel reader. But the fact of the matter is, there's another subsection of the ordinance that does allow for obtrusive annoyance noise, and so I didn't support it last time, and I don't support it now.
Okay, well, I do support it. The Sheriff's Department supports it. But obviously, it's going to be a 2-2, and it's going to fail. So I'll just go ahead and call the question.
Well, can I make a motion then?
Yes.
I move that, and this is the proper term, to table this, and that we can, for, I don't know, continued discussion in an M&P, where we might also have the sheriff's office here and fully discuss the enforceability of our noise ordinance. Rather than kill it, I would actually like to table it for further discussion with the sheriff's office, have them here, and talk about enforcement protocol, whatever, what their problems are in enforcing our noise ordinance, what our expectations are, and find out from them what their desires are and how they can work with us to achieve the quality of life we want for the community. So that's my goal. Can I say table it and move for discussion at a future MMP?
Joanne, tabling it doesn't achieve anything other than just putting it off, because the bottom line is, even with this enacted, you still have the enforcement issue. So if people don't feel comfortable, if Doris doesn't feel comfortable calling the West District and saying, I'm going crazy with whatever, if she doesn't have some reliance on their performance, you could put all the words down here you want and it still doesn't do anything. I think that our target should be what level of expectations can people on this island have with relative to noise? What expectations can they have? And they should be able to answer that for us, whether it's our base people or the Lee County Sheriff's Department. And perhaps it comes right down to us telling them, here's our expectation.
Are they just don't have the meters and the people that are trained to use them to do anything.
But Dennis, it's not just the
Simple
meter.
as that.
It's the second part of the ordinance that allows, for them not to have a meter and still cite somebody.
Is there a second to the Vice Mayor's motion?
No,
She didn't make a motion, she just talked about it.
talked about making
I'll make a motion, Anita, then.
I would simply make a motion not to send this to a second hearing. I mean, I would make well, no, you can't make a motion to deny it because deny will fail and passing will fail. So what do we do, John?
Well, if it ends
Unless
in
you feel really strongly about tabling it, but I don't see the purpose of tabling it.
Here, what I don't understand, we brought it to second hearing. You were asking for the sheriff said yes, that it's enforceable, but that's not good enough now. And then we do have an issue with noise on the island.
Absolutely.
And when you brought up Benita's is not exactly the same. They've made some tweaks to theirs for their town. So it's not, and we've made tweaks to ours for the garbage. This is not the first time we went in. And remember when this ordinance passed, when the committee was on and they passed it passed 3-2. It was still contentious. Alan voted no to it. So it didn't pass like a 5-0. So it's the noise issue in Fort Myers Beach has always been contentious. And it's always going to be. You always have that. Most businesses are respectful, but you got one or two, they're absentee. They do not care about the citizens who live here, and they don't care if they bother their sleep or they bother them during the day. And unfortunately, because of those one or two who are disrespectful, we need to have a stronger noise ordinance to protect the citizens of this town. That is our first and foremost job, is to protect the citizens of this town. And Roger has been doing this a long time. He brought something forward that he's used before. He said that it works. The sheriff's office agrees with him. I don't know why we wouldn't support our town manager.
So John, is where
do we go? Okay. One, if the motion is to approve the ordinance, and it ends in a 2-2 tie vote under Robert's Rules of Order, the motion fails. And the effect, yes, that's correct. And the effect of that is that the ordinance would not pass. With respect to the issue of tabling that the Vice Mayor previously mentioned, you could, but
we could end up in the same vote.
Yes, you could. You could always end up in that same vote. The issue with tabling it is that unless you have a date and time certain as to when you want to bring it back for a vote at this body at a public hearing, then you would have to incur the cost of re-advertising the ordinance for purposes of second reading.
We can always, after we meet with the sheriff's office and have an MMP or something, we can always bring forward other wording again. So
we could.
In any case.
Well, I'm just not going to, listen, I'm not going to prolong this because I know how it's going to go. Y'all do what you need to do next time, but I'm going to motion that, motion to approve Ordinance 1901, Noise Control Amendments, Ordinance 1901, an ordinance of the Town of Fort Myers Beach, Florida, amending Chapter 14, Article 2, Noise Ordinance, short title and territorial scope, findings and purpose, definitions, noise disturbances prohibited, prohibited acts, exceptions, waivers, enforcement, penalties, civil remedies, rules and regulations, codifications, scrivener's errors, conflicts of law, severability, and substitution clause, modification, providing for an effective date.
Second.
All in favor?
Could be a roll call vote, if you would.
Oh, it is, you're right, I'm
As
sorry.
Your vote on approving ordinance 19-01, your vote, Mayor Gore,
Yes.
Councilmember Boback,
Yes.
Councilmember Saracita,
No.
Vice Mayor Shamp.
No.
Motion fails 2-2 with Councilmember Butcher excused absence.
Okay, I close that public hearing. Sorry, everyone. So the next one is a public hearing to approve the special exception 2018029 to allow construction of dune walkovers in the EC zoning district, approve the variance 2018030 to allow the construction of 4 dune walkovers wider than 6 feet, approve the variance 20190009 to allow the construction of dune walkovers less than 2 feet over the dune and vegetation elevation. Town attorney, has there been sufficient publication? Staff.
Yeah, I'm sorry.
It's a-
This
it's
is
a
qua-
legislative.
No, this is a quasi-judicial.
This is quasi-judicial,
This is
you're right.
quasi-judicial item.
Lee County.
So therefore, it would be appropriate to, one, disclose any communications you may have had with respect to this matter, and then we'll swear in the witnesses.
Has anybody had ex parte, Joanne?
No.
I have not, besides staff.
That's all I've had.
With your permission, I'll swear in the witnesses. Anyone who's going to testify regarding this matter, please stand, be sworn in. Do you swear to tell the truth, whole truth, and nothing but the truth regarding this matter?
Do.
Witnesses have been sworn.
Sarah?
Good morning. Sarah Probst, Community Development. The Lee County Board of Commissioners is requesting 2 variances and a special exception for 950 Estero Boulevard. The variance requests are for Section 6-366D, 3 and 4, to allow dune walkovers wider than 6 feet for non-residential dune walkovers, and to allow dune walkovers to be built less than 2 feet over the dune and vegetation. The special exception is required per Section 6-366B2 to allow the construction of minor structures in the environmentally critical zoning district. This property is a Lee County park. It's zoned community facility and environmentally critical, and 4 walkovers currently exist. The project will allow the dunes to be rebuilt, and the walkways would go over the dune rather than cut through the dune area. The wider walkovers are requested to allow the high foot traffic to the beach and to allow one of the walkovers to accommodate emergency and work vehicles. The lower height of the walkovers is proposed to allow the walkovers to be ADA compliant with less of an impact on the EC zoned portion of the beach. The LPA voted in favor of these requests, and the applicant is also available to answer questions.
We want to hear from the applicant? No? Yes?
Yeah.
The applicant wants to come up?
Good morning, Mayor Gore and council members.
Good morning.
Jesse Lavender, Lee County Parks and Recreation Director. I have Mark Kincaid, who is our consultant on this project. Basically, Sarah laid it all out there. That's exactly what we're doing. We're looking to improve access from the restroom and the parking lot to the beach, as well as Times Square to the beach, and harden the shoreline in the most cost-effective manner, which is requires us to apply for that variance of the 2 feet above the top of the dune.
Do you have any questions for Jesse?
I just want to have you reiterate that the showers will be landward of the EC zone and not draining onto the dune into the sand?
Mark Kincaid, Coastal Engineering. That is correct. We moved all the showers landward of that line.
And then I have a second question, please. I noticed in the Lee County ADA page, you basically have 6 facilities that are listed as ADA accessible parks, beach parks in the county. And two of the six are here on our island, Bowditch and Lynn Hall that we're discussing today. And the point, of course, of having these wide dune walkovers and the variances and that you're requesting is for ADA, and I support that. The missing link to me, though, is that getting the individuals then from the base of the ramp, which is all important at the right angle, then to the water. And my request is that we add a condition that you will have ADA wheelchairs available at a couple. I know you have them at the Bonita Parks, and we really would like to see them at Bowditch and Lynn Hall. But within this, if you can have 2 ADA wheelchairs that are available for rental or use at the park during daylight hours, as you have in Bonita or whatever.
We have that now, a rental program.
At Lynn Hall Park?
Yes, we have vendors that rent the beach wheelchairs if they call in advance. In addition to that, there will be Moby mats on each one of these accesses.
Okay, would you clarify for me out loud for the record then what your program is, and if it's there and at Bowditch? We may want to copy it in Newton, so I'd like you to just put it on the record.
Well, in lieu of owning beach wheelchairs,
Right.
we have certain vendors throughout the county that rent them, and we post that number on our website, on our accessibility subpage of the Parks and Rec website.
Do you have anybody on Fort Myers Beach that you use that rents them?
I believe so. I'm not
Because if you're
100%
going over
sure
there-
exactly what the vendors are, but I know
Is
we
there a
have.
phone number listed on the?
Yes.
When you get there at Lynn Hall Park?
Yes, there
Without
is.
having to go to the website? And you're not sure, though, if there's a vendor on our island?
I'm not 100% sure. I'd have to look into that, but I can certainly send you an email with
It
those
just
contacts.
seems with traffic and everything, for somebody to call and wait, the person with the disability has arrived thinking that they have accessibility for them to wait. So I'm wondering, how might we condition this where we can work together and be sure that somebody who is disabled arrives and is able to get down to the beach?
We can just condition it.
Just condition it, they gotta have the wheelchairs available.
But he's telling us they do.
he
Here's
said he
here's
don't
what
know.
I have
He's
found,
saying he
Jesse.
don't know.
There is, people come to the beach, they don't know that that's a county park.
Right.
They're in Fort Myers Beach. And so oftentimes I'm told that people go to the town's website to look for information for this, and of course they don't find it because it's a county park, not a town park. So maybe this is just a public information issue of getting proper information in the proper places.
It seems like there should be a sign there, but I know they have wheelchairs like on site, not from vendors at Bonita. I've been told that there's somebody went there and physically saw 2 wheelchairs sitting waiting. I think they're the PVC type wheelchairs. They may even be chained up, and then just the park employee comes and releases one to the individual.
That's incorrect. That is our
Okay.
vendor that also sells hot dogs and puts beach chairs on the beach and things like that.
Okay, so you have a vendor immediately right there, though, and that's my point. Where would our vendor be then?
Off island isn't a good spot.
No, I understand that.
Yeah.
And I don't have that information with me
Yeah.
today, and I can
Right.
certainly let you know.
And I mean no disrespect, but for the investment the county's putting in, I don't think that acquiring a couple of the PVC wheelchairs would increase the budget expenditure very much, and it would make it actually where the whole plan actually functions for the individual as what we're hoping for.
I understand that, but we've always gone the route of Moby mats versus beach wheelchairs, and we've offered the vendors as a secondary tool to the Moby mats.
Would you be willing to work with a vendor on Fort Myers Beach then, if a vendor steps forward? So
Absolutely.
that we could do that? We might be able to arrange that and work with Newton. Okay, thank you. I just thought it was sort of the missing link in accomplishing this. I appreciate the plan. Thank you.
I do have another question. Will there be downtime for access to the beach from Lynn Hall when this construction's happening, Mark or Jesse?
We're going to do this in one segment or one walkover at a time.
Okay.
So there won't be complete closure.
Okay. And the principal entrance immediately adjacent to the pier, That one's going to also be a walk over, not a walk through?
Yeah, it's going to be a ramp going down to the beach, yeah.
Okay. Because, I mean, right now, it just kind of goes right, you're on, you don't have to, there's nothing underneath the ramp going onto the beach right there. So it'll be elevated.
So we have that flip through that, we can show them.
The access D that you're talking about, let me get to that point. Yeah.
That's it.
Oh, I'm sorry. So access D currently looks like that.
Yes.
Have a
And
close.
there's a plan view, I think it's the last.
Okay. This it?
Yep.
You want to talk about that?
Here, let me just walk.
Yeah.
Microphone though, Mark.
Right there. You're going to have to talk.
Well, go ahead. I have
Bottom-
a good
The bottom
imagination.
left corner there
Yep.
is access D, and that's
Okay.
the one that's going to be closest to the pier.
Right.
That has the biggest volume of
Yep.
foot traffic. The other issue is that that's where the equipment access currently is, because it's the widest, because the more people are going through there, coming from Times Square, that's where the most people walk through. That's also where the county takes equipment through, that's where the town drives their equipment through. So it's kind of a conflict to have all the people through there and the equipment work go through there too. So we wanted to move the equipment access to the other end to access A. So that's one of the variances. We want to make that access A wider.
Okay. Okay. Yeah,
There you
I know,
go.
right,
You
we're
got a mic?
immediately adjacent to the Edison Beach House.
I'm sorry, Nina.
Adjacent to the Edison Beach House. You want to make that access wider.
Correct. And that's where the equipment would then access, and it would be further away from where the majority of people are going. The access A, because it's going to be equipment, is not going to be ADA.
Okay.
So we'll have 3 of the 4 will be ADA accessible and meet all the criteria there. But the access A is people can still walk across that, but it won't be to the 12-to-1 slope that's
Okay.
required by ADA.
Thanks, Mark.
Dennis, did you have any questions for clarifications? Okay.
Want to make a motion?
Oh, no, I was going to do public input.
Okay. Oh, yeah, I forgot.
Is there any public input? Yes. Oh, Michelle, do you have any cards? You do not.
Leon Moyer, I have a question following up on Councilor Champ's comments here on the showers. Down at Bowditch, they don't allow people to use shampoos or soaps. And I believe the reason is because that water runs down onto the ground, not into a sewer system. And one day I caught a lady up there washing out a baby's diaper. And I said, why? You're contaminating the ground and everything. She said, I only brought one diaper, so I have to wash it out. So we can get various types of contamination here on the ground. Now, the problem is with hooking up to a sewer system, how do you separate the sand washing off a person's body from soapy water if they take a shower, or fecal contamination? It can be done. You could use gravity flow. I just Googled it here, and I noticed they have centrifugal devices. And I think it'd be a good idea, and maybe they're already doing it, but I'd kind of doubt it. I think they're just running this water on the ground. And I think it'd be a good idea to hook it to the sewer system because there will be people after closing hours perhaps taking showers there unlawfully. It happens. And it could cause pollution problems there on the soil. I just wanted to bring that to your attention in case you think it's worthwhile dealing with. Thank you.
Thank you. Is there any other public input? Public input is closed.
I have another question for Mark.
Mark, come on down.
You know, that raises a good point because I've seen plenty of people at Lynn Hall, not even Bowditch. Where does the water go from Lynn Hall? Does it go into the stormwater system?
No, it does not.
Because people do use soaps, shampoos, I mean, forget about that. Think about all the suntan oil, suntan lotion.
Where does it go?
It just goes.
Right, just
Into
like
the
it
ground.
will when they put suntan lotion on and they walk out onto the beach and lay on the sand and they go into the water on the beach. It isn't any different than that.
Yeah.
We could ban,
Suntan lotion, yeah.
you know, where do you go with it?
Yeah.
It's, the intent of those showers is to rinse off the sand.
Sure.
As you're leaving the beach. The intent is not to.
You can imagine, though, that people go a little bit further if they're traveling or whatever. I mean, they literally shower. They literally shower.
Sure.
All the time. But okay, that's the answer. Thanks.
Mm-hmm.
We're not talking about the showers that are up in Lynn Hall.
Yes, we are.
That are up there right now.
Yep.
That doesn't go into a system. I did not know that. That's disgusting.
And people do shower there. I mean, they come with their little bag and they do their stuff. And I mean, not people that have been on the beach. I'm not talking about just somebody coming to take a shower there because they like an outdoor shower. Not that.
Did you want to say something, Mark?
Yeah, can I add one more thing?
Yes.
Yep.
Mark Kincaid, for the record.
Thank you. What we're proposing to do is a big improvement from what is there now.
I'm sure.
If you have been there recently, the shower that is just to the west of the restroom facility, there's a green algae pool
Yes, there
there
is.
around the shower. So this is going to take that out. It's not aesthetically pleasing. It's probably not very sanitary. This is going to improve that situation.
Thanks. Is there anybody here from the LPA that wants to speak? Nope. Okay. Does anybody want to entertain a motion?
I'll make a motion. Motion to approve the special exception 201800029 to allow construction of dune walkovers in the EC zoning district. Motion to approve variance 80030 to allow the construction of 4 dune walkovers wider than 6 feet. A motion to approve variance 2019009 to allow the construction of dune walkovers less than 2 feet over the dune and vegetation elevation. And into that motion includes all findings, conclusions, and recommendations provided within, and conditions within the staff report.
Second.
Going to add the contingent on them having wheelchairs accessible there for people?
No, I don't think so. I think we'll.
So in
it's
other
gonna
words,
be
we're
fine.
just going to take their word for it, that they're going to try to get some wheelchairs out there.
I'll add that condition, and
I'm
that they'll
just-
work,
I'm
that they'll
just
work with a vendor within the town of Fort Myers Beach to have wheelchairs available.
Amend your second?
Yes, sir.
If I may.
Yes.
You may.
While I appreciate the conversation that's taken place with respect to the ADA accessible wheelchairs, and that's an issue that this council has voiced repeatedly, not only just in the context of this, but separately on a number of occasions. This is a quasi-judicial matter, and the only issue that you can look to are the criteria in the ordinance and in the code, and any conditions that you elect to impose have to be directly related to that criteria. So while it's a valid concern and an issue, all you can ask is that the county consider that moving forward, but I would caution you that conditioning the approval on them implementing such a requirement is outside the scope of the criteria.
Thank you. Based upon that legal opinion, then, I strike that condition at the end. Motion to approve, everything else as stated.
All in favor?
Do we have a second?
Yes, she
Yes, I
seconded
seconded
it.
it.
Thank you.
All in favor?
Aye.
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 Nay.
Well, I didn't say I opposed yet, but okay. So motion carries 3-1 with Councilmember Bobeck no and excused absence from Butcher. I will close that quasi-judicial hearing.
Mayor, I believe Mr. Babcock snuck in the side door while you guys were working on that item.
So if you guys don't mind, I'd like to go back to the 2019 Citizen of Distinction Award, Town Council selection of Thomas A. Babcock as the 2019 Town of Fort Myers Beach Citizen of Distinction on February 19, 2019. If you'd please stand up here, Mr. Babcock.
Let me read the proclamation.
As soon as he gets up here, yeah.
Excuse me?
I wanted him to come up here, and then we read.
Town of Fort Myers Beach proclamation honoring Thomas A. Babcock as the Outstanding Citizen of the Year. Whereas since moving to Fort Myers Beach in 2000, Tom Babcock has been a tireless advocate for many of the issues challenging the quality of life on our island. And whereas he is well known and appreciated for his services on the local planning agency, Historic Preservation Board, and the Town Council, along with his dedication to the Air Intrusion Relief Committee. And whereas he has held countless discussions with Lee County Port Authority, Southwest Florida International Airport Management, Air Traffic Control, and FAA representatives, and has collected and evaluated over 45,000 arrival flights at Southwest Florida International Airport since WebTrack became operational in 2013 at no cost to the town. And whereas because of his leadership and the efforts of a talented group of islanders, progress has been made to elevate and reduce the number of overflights, share an equitable distribution of day and nighttime flight patterns, and have consistent elevation standards. And whereas Tom has a quiet, respectful, and exemplary dedication to improving the quality of life for all who live, work, or visit here. And whereas Tom, with this honor, shall also serve as the 2019 Grand Marshal of the Town of Fort Myers Beach's 4th of July Parade. Now, therefore, be it proclaimed that the Town Council of the Town of Fort Myers Beach, Florida, proclaims and recognizes Mr. Thomas A. Babcock as the 2019 Outstanding Citizen of the Year, given under my hand in the seal of the office of the mayor this 4th day of March, 2019. Tracy Gore, Mayor.
Picture.
Photo. You want Annie with? Does he want Annie with?
Annie, you want to come up? Come on.
Come on, Annie.
Come on, Annie.
And we all know that.
Well, here, you couldn't do it.
It must be my wife. I can't leave here without saying thanks, but I'll start by saying, for the record, I'm Tom Babcock. Annie and I live on Williams Drive in a house that's directly aligned with the end of the runway at Southwest Florida International Airport. But I want to start by saying the last day I sat up there, I looked at my colleagues and I said, I'll be back. And I saw some eyes roll because I participated in a lot of meetings that went past midnight. However, I made their day when I said, but I'll be limited to 3 minutes. So I'll do far less than that today. I just want to say thank you for this honor. There have been many people involved in the aircraft issues. Many of them are still involved. My involvement has been primarily to collect data and analyze it and act as a spokesperson for a large group of citizens. that call themselves Aircraft Intrusion Relief, or AIR. Very fitting. But I really want to reflect on how I got involved. In 2008, there were a lot of people sitting out here that wanted to take their 3 minutes to share with council the fact that they were seeing aircraft over their house that they had never seen before, saying that they thought they could see people through the windows, they were so low, that they were coming in every 2 or 3 minutes so that they couldn't even carry on a conversation on their lanai, and that they were waking them up late at night, early in the morning. They were starting to see oily film on their lanai, and many of those people are still involved, and it's because of them that the FAA has been willing to make some changes. And I know they will continue. New people on the island will continue to drive continuous improvement. So I really want to dedicate this to all the citizens who sit out here waiting for their 3 minutes, because they spent a lot of time before they ever got here thinking about what they wanted to share with you, what their concerns are, how you can make improvements. And it's important to them that they have that 3 minutes. And I want to say thank you to you for being willing to listen and act on that, because it's made a difference for aircraft. And I'll close by saying, I'll be back.
Thank you, Tom.
Thank you, Tom.
That was one of the best speeches ever, Tom. That was
Shortest.
No, it was the content. It was the content.
Okay, so we'll get back to the administrative agenda. Special event permit application, Lanikai Island Resort, temporary stage and outdoor music event.
I'll make a motion to approve the Lanikai Resort special events, March 1st through April 15th of 2019.
Second, okay, all in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Motion carries 4-0 with Butcher absent, excused. Special event permit application, Classic Rock benefit. Authorize a special event permit to have Classic Rock benefit at the Lanikai Resort with an anticipated additional 1,000 people over usual and customary attendance.
I'll make a motion to approve and authorize a special event permit to have Classic Rock benefit at the Lanikai Resort with an anticipated additional 1,000 people over usual and customary attendance.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Motion carries 4-0 with Councilmember Butcher excused absence. Amendment number 1 to the fiscal year 18-19 fee schedule. Approve the amended fiscal year 18-19 fee schedule as presented.
I'll make a motion to approve number 1 to the fiscal year 18-19 fee schedule.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Motion carries 4-0 with Councilmember Butcher excused absence. D, Fort Myers Beach Kiddie Pool Resurfacing Project, authorizing $45,370 for an emergency kiddie pool resurfacing for the Fort Myers Beach Community Pool, waiving the procurement policy, entering into a contract with Hydrotech Pools, Inc., confirming funding allocated, and to authorize the town manager to execute the required documentation.
I move to authorize $45,370 for an emergency kiddie pool resurfacing for the Fort Myers Beach Community Pool, waiving the procurement policy, entering into a contract with Hydrotech Pools Incorporated, confirming funding allocated, and to authorize the town manager to execute the required documentation.
I'm going to second it for discussion
Second
because
for
I have some
discussion.
questions.
Okay.
Roger, I sent a message to Mr. Melsick, who's part of that board. He was the dissenting vote to find out exactly, if he could tell me why, and he said that he had sent it to everybody, but, and then I texted, chatted back and forth with him for a little while, and he brought up some interesting thoughts and things that I've been thinking about town-wide, but I guess I'd ask why the procurement process was, I don't want to use circumvented because it sounds like something was inappropriate, and I don't believe there was, but can you just kind of give a follow-up to how this got where it is? And did part of it have to do with Sean leaving, and just kind of give me a little bit of background? And
Well, two things I think is important for you and the public to know. One is that the email that was sent by one of the committee members who had the dissenting point of view about this project was put in the agenda kit so that the council, all members of council, as well as all members of the public would have the ability to see their position and why they reached their decision, so that their position, although was in the minority, is fully respected by everyone involved, including myself and the staff. So I just want that on the record. The fact of the matter is that, and I'm going to try to be careful here not to say disparaging words about someone who's not here to explain or defend themselves, but the fact of the matter is that this project was put in the budget by the former director. When he left, he did not leave it in the stage that it should have been in relative to accomplishing this by the end of, to have it ready for summer camp and summer. I don't know why he, it wasn't a unplanned repair, so it was a planned event, and it should have been there. I don't know if it was that he was focusing on his future and not on the current.
Okay.
But the net effect is that when Allison took over, and by the way, she took over while he was still employed by the town. There was a small transition, and Chelsea ably assisting her with the capital projects. They reviewed the status of all the pending items, and this item, as well as a couple others, were behind where they needed to be. With respect to where we are is, clearly we need to do the resurfacing now. I think there are some valid reasons to proceed with item E on your agenda, but that's for you all to decide within your discretion as town council. The picture that unfortunately gets painted in people's minds is that you have 130, if you do decide to move forward with both elements, you have a $130,000 project, and it would be zero if you bid it. That's not the case. It would be either $132,000 or $128,000, if you bid it. So, as stated by someone earlier in public comment, Vortex is the premier company that does pool equipment. And even if their bid were to be higher than somebody else, we would probably recommend them to you anyway. As pertains to the resurfacing, we're pretty confident that this is a tight number. Could it potentially be approved upon slightly if it were competitively bid? Possibly. I will tell you that it's very difficult to get contractors in town to work here in town, and specifically to show up and get projects done on a timely basis. But all of this is within your discretion, and you can determine whether or not it rises to the level of moving forward with either or both of these.
Roger, I'm going to tell you that for me, this is an easy decision. We budgeted for this. This money is in the account. It's in capital projects. Whether the ball was dropped is not what we're here to debate today. The fact is, this has to get done. We got to get it done for summer. This is for the kids to have the resurfacing of the pool. If we don't do this now, we will not have a pool or kiddie structure this summer for our children. So anything that's going to enhance children, American veterans, and animals, I'm for it.
And the staff also did contact 9 additional companies that on the outside and they weren't able to do it. So bidding would not necessarily assist this, and I agree. We need to get this done for the summer for the children. So,
Dennis, did you have a...
Well, I understand why it needs to get done, and it's not that I'm against it. I don't see how it became an emergency. I mean, it should have been planned. I mean,
I think
obviously,
a ball was dropped, or two. Yeah.
We should
But that's for the town manager to take care of internally.
Yeah, I understand that, but I just, to call it an emergency is.
Well, you go to Bay Oaks this summer when school's out and there's no kiddie pool, and you tell those parents it's not an emergency.
All I'm saying is, I said I'm for it, I'm not against it.
Right.
But I'm just saying, somewhere along the way, something happened that this had to come to us as an emergency. I mean, obviously, we knew that the play equipment was bad a long time ago. It didn't just happen today. So all I'm saying is, something like this should not, unless it just all of a sudden fell down,
I feel like Roger
shouldn't come
answered
to
that
us
with Anita.
as an emergency. That's all.
Counselor, the way the procurement regulations for the town are written, that's a term of art that's used in the procurement regulations, therefore that word is included within the item. So I understand that, we would all prefer to have had the time to bid this. I don't think there's anyone in the room who isn't of that mindset, but we are where we are. So, as I said earlier, the item D is critical, item E is recommended.
If there's no other questions, I'll entertain a motion.
You already have a motion and a second, but could I just ask you one thing, Tracy?
Yes.
With the strategic plan, is the strategic plan complete yet, that Board Cap was working on?
I don't think they wrapped it up. They had an emergency meeting for this one, and I think they have another meeting because they were going to send it to council to look at.
My
They're not ready for
understanding
us.
is the final review by BORCAB, as you recall from your own process, the consultant gets it to where they believe they have it exactly right, then it goes back for verification, and then, because it's a committee, would come to town council for finalization.
They're rewording it so that it made more
Right.
sense and easier for everybody to read, so that's where they're at.
The reason I ask is because I think that there is a broader conversation about the pool, the gym, the Bay Oaks, the whole parcel, period. As we talk about that heart of the island, this community deserves a wonderful community center, and it doesn't function that way. And so I'd just like to start a conversation about how can we have the best possible facility for the kids, for seniors, for everybody on this island to utilize, and a place that truly does become a community center.
Well,
That's
thanks-
for the next strategic plan,
and-
and it's in place.
And thanks to Dennis Boback, who worked on that exchange with the land, we're going to have a new opening from Estera Boulevard, a possible community center, so it's all coming. Things are getting better.
Call the
So
motion.
anyway, I'd like to call the vote. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries 4-0 with Councilmember Butcher absent, excused. Fort Myers Beach Kiddie Pool Structure Procurement, authorizing a cost not to exceed $89,436 for an emergency replacement kiddie pool play structure for the Fort Myers Beach Community Pool, waiving the procurement policy, enter into an agreement with the Vortex Aquatic Structures, and authorize the town manager to execute the required documents.
Motion to authorize a cost not to exceed $89,436 for an emergency replacement kiddie pool play structure for the Fort Myers Beach Community Pool, waiving the procurement policy, entering into an agreement with Vortex Aquatic Structures, and authorize the town manager to execute the required documents.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Motion carries 4-0 with Councilmember Butcher excused absence. Okay, F, Town Manager Evaluation. Everybody, I assume, turned in their evaluation?
I have mine here. I will.
So just so that, I don't know if everybody met with the town manager, I did.
May I see yours since it's down?
Nobody can
The
hear
other
you.
ones. May I see yours as you turn them in, since it's now public record?
Sure,
I
I'd
reviewed
like-
the others, and it may impact my comments.
I'd like to go over it with Roger first, if you don't mind.
Okay. That's fine. But then
But
Dennis,
I'm
I
not
won't
going to
ask for
do that
yours too.
publicly. I'm never going to review a town
Very good.
manager publicly.
It's okay, I have enough
Yeah.
information.
I've already talked with Roger.
So,
He knows where I stand.
we have a contract, and I don't know if you guys met with Roger. I did. I went over it with Roger. There's a few changes onto the contract that I am fine with, and,
Me too. Can I make some comment about that?
sure.
Okay. With regard to your review, Roger, I will say the 3 that I reviewed all had you as outstanding. I'm one of those. I agree that your performance has been outstanding in the 2 years. I think that you have had outstanding budget performance, including fully funding our CIP and building the capital reserves, and that was done with no increase in the millage rate. You have significant expertise in major infrastructure project management, and it's a vital time on our island with our infrastructure projects outstanding. You have outstanding grant support of our infrastructure project, having brought in $5 million over a 2-year span. That is an amazing accomplishment, outstanding accomplishment. Overall experience and expertise greater than usually available to a town our size, because you personally are near the end of your career. You wanted to retire in this small town, and therefore you were able to give a period of time to us with an expertise that's outstanding that we might not otherwise have acquired here on Fort Myers Beach in a small town. You have committed to the community by purchasing a home here and living on the island, making the town, and you're making your family subject to all the decisions that we make as a town council and that you make as a town manager, and putting yourself in the position that when you go to Publix, when you're out shopping, people can grab you at your grocery cart and let you know what they're thinking. I find you to be very respectful, and you totally follow town council's policy direction. And that may mean that some of the things are unpopular because town council has made an unpopular decision. But you know your job, and your job is to enact the policy of town council, and you do that very well. You bring your expertise to do that. And when we change policy, if a future town council changes policy, I know that you also will follow their policy direction exactly as they tell you to do it. And I think that the town benefits from the stability of a town manager. We all know that we have a lot of staff turnover in a small town. Stability in the town manager leadership is essential. We even turn over our town council frequently. So I think, and you're trying to continue to restructure the departments to be truly customer service oriented, which is what the town wants to be and what taxpayers should expect. Overall, I think that you are being paid modestly in terms of your prior salary and resume. And you're fine with that because you're happy living here, and we appreciate that. Your current salary is $162,750. If we gave you a performance raise each year of 5%, it would total over a 5-year span, average out at $188,852.26 per year. You are also requesting in here, which we'll get to, that you like to work for a period of 15 days between June 1st and July 31st each year. You would like to work remotely. You like that guaranteed. And for that and some other concessions, I'm suggesting that we negotiate a salary of a consistent salary of $180,000 a year, which is slightly less than an average of 5% increase. Any future town council can give any bonus that they would like. If we had I was in business, and if I had a salesman with outstanding performance reviews who brought in $5 million in sales additional sales over a 2-year period of time to benefit my corporation, I would say that's a person that I keep. So that being said, I know that the requests that you have made in private, I'm going to hand these out.
That's probably what I already have.
I have done the contract with highlighted changes as he requested, so it's easy to read. If you want to give one of these to Roger to make sure that it's what he discussed privately with me.
Do you want to give Dennis a chance to say anything before?
Oh, sure, absolutely. Do you want to speak first before I go over these changes?
No, go ahead.
Or should I go through the changes and then?
I've already spoken to Roger.
Okay.
So,
these are changes that Roger has spoken
is
with the
his
council about, so we are all aware, just so that the public knows that we've all seen, I think we've
And
all seen these.
this is basically his current employment agreement, and where it's yellow, I have done the traditional thing where you cross out and underline. Okay, cross out what you're eliminating, underline what's new, but I also additionally highlighted in yellow so it would draw your eye to it immediately to make this quicker. So as you go through the employment agreement, obviously the date changes. I also added the term "and outstanding performance review" under the therefore. In the duties, we have added his request to work remotely for 15 days between June 1 and July 31st, which was already in there, but it was a specified year on that one previously. The salary, instead of being, he started at 140, and with the negotiated increases, he was already at 162. So I've made it that stable 180. And I've changed the term for 5 years. That's the period of time that Mr. Hernstadt is willing to stay for before he retires. And I think if we can keep him that long, we would do well. There's also
Beginning March 4th, 2019.
beginning March 4th. And it also, later on, of course, future town councils still have the option to do what they
That's right.
want. Then you go next to pages.
4 of 6.
The next highlighted is, yes, 4 of 6. And that just eliminates the second year, third year, whatever, a part of the clause, termination without clause. There's still, the termination without clause still exists. It just stays one stable amount of severance pay.
Which I agree with, because at that point, I was talking to Roger about this. We've been dating long enough. It's time to marry this guy.
Well, you know, when the contract, the truth is, and then it changes on the final page, the date of the contract, and Tracy Gore, mayor, is the signer. The truth of the matter is, when Dennis initially negotiated this, when he was mayor, we wanted a trial period. We didn't know what we were getting, and it's sort of the probationary period. The town manager at the time negotiated this, and it wasn't the full terms that he wanted. But he understood that that's part of the dance of getting to know each other and deciding whether you want somebody to stay. And at this point, I think that he's proven himself in his leadership. So these are more the terms, these are the terms that he would have liked initially. And I would like to provide those terms. I think that he has earned that.
I agree. Do we need a motion on this?
Well, Anita gets to speak.
We have advertised this as a performance evaluation, not a contract renegotiation. And I think people are going to be highly critical that we change his contract on the eve of an election. Now, granted, and I will tell you that I've spoken to all the candidates and I work with this one, there's no one that wants to get rid of Roger. No one that wants to get rid of him. So it's not like his term is pending. I'm not comfortable. I'm not comfortable with adding a contract reevaluation under a performance evaluation, and especially with Bruce not here. So
Town attorney, are we okay?
It is not that I don't support Roger. I absolutely do, completely. But we've advertised this as a performance evaluation, and now this is turning into a new contract for the town manager, and I'm not comfortable with that.
Town attorney?
Yes, ma'am.
With regard to Anita's statement, is this?
Well, you can do whatever you want. I don't think there's anything. Wait, you go ahead, John. I'm sorry.
Councilmember Saracita's comments are correct. You can proceed to modify or otherwise amend the manager's contract if you choose this point or any point. That is certainly one of the things that under your charter is specifically reserved to you all. And so if you elect to move forward today, that's perfectly fine.
I mean, at a bare minimum, wait until Bruce is here.
Well, I read Bruce's performance.
I bet he didn't know that we were going to renegotiate his contract. Because that's not what this says.
Anita.
Yes.
You're right. There is an election tomorrow, and this isn't done to usurp the election. This is done because, as we said before, this is the period of time where this is done. There's a specific period of time where it's stated that we do this. And we are the 5 that have worked with this town manager.
You don't
Incoming
have to sell
individuals.
me on it. I
Okay.
would vote to approve this. I think the timing of it is poor. There's an election tomorrow, we're minus a council member, and all 5 of us should vote on this. And I'm sure Bruce is a money guy. I'm sure he's gonna have input on this. Plus, that is not how this is advertised. This is advertised, evaluate the town manager. Someone asked me last night, well, does this mean that you're gonna give him more money? And I said, well, no, not necessarily. I mean, that'll come after. That was my response. So I'm not comfortable with it. You'll force me to vote no on it. And Roger,
done this
that's not a vote of lack of confidence for you. It's that this process just makes me a little heebie-jeebie.
So you think it's fair to have people that haven't worked with him at all when we've worked with him every day for 2 years?
I think it's fair to have Bruce sitting on that chair. Bruce sitting in that chair.
I read
Bruce could have been here.
Bruce is not here, and Bruce gave him an outstanding performance review. I read Bruce's review, so.
So we're not gonna argue this anymore. Dennis, do you have anything to say?
Yeah, I just want to clarify a couple things here. So what we're doing is we're giving them roughly an $18,000 raise. Is that correct?
What we're actually doing
is.
is.
162,750, and you're taking them up to 180.
That's correct.
Well, I
but
had it at
what we're-
170, but I see you changed it.
You can make the amount whatever you want. It's what I'm proposing based upon that average of the number of years. It's actually less than what he would, it's less than what he would write, less than the average if he got a 5% per year, which is typical. It's actually, he'll make more this year and next year, but he'll make less in the end years than he would with a 5% raise.
I'll tell
And
you
you
what,
you may pick whatever number you like. It was a starting point.
I had it at 5% increase, which gave it 178,8750.
Then that would be the motion,
Because we did
whatever.
5% last time.
Then whatever you want to move. I just put in a number for discussion.
Roger, do you feel awkward yet?
Don't feel awkward when I vote no against this, Roger, because this shouldn't be an on-the-fly, here, what do you think about this? I just redid the contract for Roger. That's not how that should happen.
Don't worry, I'll be voting yes for it.
So what's the amount that Dennis and
Well,
Tracy
I'm
are
just-
comfortable
I'm
with,
just trying to
Dennis?
see, what are you talking?
Because you are you're a numbers guy too, Guy.
Dennis is a big numbers guy.
Just, so what you're doing is you're proposing the 180?
Yes,
She wanted 180, I had it 170.
For the full 5 years.
that's correct. It
So
never
there's no-
it never
no more
raises.
increases.
Well, it
That's
says
right.
up, thereafter, the manager shall be eligible to receive increases in base salary and benefits. That's why I went to
But
5%.
based on the town council.
Right,
The town, it would be up to the town council if they want to. It's not,
it's always up to the town council.
that's correct. It wouldn't be forced. It was just if they think they want to do more, they can, but they would never have to.
So Dennis, I guess the number would be to you. Joanne's got 170. I had the 5% increase at 170. But I would go either way because he's amazing.
Well, yeah, and again, I'm just trying to figure out exactly what changes we're making here. So, I'm comfortable with the 5% too, or even the 180, as long as it's for the 5-year period. The problem I have with that is the next council could come by and give them whatever they want anyways.
Yes, they can.
So we're not protecting anything by going to 180 right off of the
So
get-go.
Roger was fine with 170 when I spoke with him. You guys want to stick with the 170, the 5% at 178,8750?
Well, that's pretty much what he had told me as
good.
well.
170, how much?
88750.
178, 7,
88750.
88750.
170,87750, is that
Okay.
correct?
88750.
All right, that works.
Yeah, this one here.
Yeah, that's what.
I'm ready to make a motion then.
Okay, go
And
ahead.
yet, well,
Oh.
let me finish. The
sorry.
only other thing I see where we've added the 20 weeks of severance pay,
What page, what are you looking at?
page 4 of 6.
No, it started at that, and what we've done is eliminate the decreasing severance pay, yes.
Yeah, well, that was the whole thing.
For
of the thing,
termination
so,
without
yeah.
cause.
This is the part where we're saying we're finally going to stop dating the guy and marry him. I do. Is that why Henry?
I don't know
Michelle said,
about
"Is that
look
why
on
Henry's here?"
face.
Roger still doesn't make enough.
Okay.
Are you ready?
I am.
Go ahead. Oh, are
Let
you
me just
done?
get
I'm
my
sorry.
wording.
Yeah, I'm done.
My wording is, sorry. Motion to direct the mayor to execute the attached draft employment agreement with the town manager with the change of the base salary compensation shall be $170,887.50.
Second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Those opposed?
No, with my
Motion
apologies,
carries
Roger.
3-1 with Councilmember Saracita voting no and Councilmember Butcher excused absence.
Mayor, I'm sorry, if I could just ask you all to make one procedural issue.
Yes.
Technically speaking, it would be a First Amendment to his employment agreement, and if you, I'm sorry? Second Amendment to his employment agreement, I'll draft it for you all and put it before
Do you need us
them.
to restate the motion?
Just that it would be a Second Amendment to the.
So are we withdrawing the vote and going back to
No,
restate?
just, you can clarify it for that the motion is to draft a Second Amendment to the
I
manager's
clarify that the motion is to draft the Second Amendment to the employment agreement as presented today and have, with the change in salary as noted, and have the town mayor execute it with the town manager.
I clarify my second. Okay. Now we are to public comment. Is there any public comment? Our friend Bobby Kemp, once again.
Hi, Mayor, Vice Mayor, and council members. I'd just like to thank you for passing the St. Patrick's Day event with the not allowing alcohol to be sold until the correct paperwork is submitted. It's going to be a really fun event for the community and a great day for wearing of the green, so thank you.
Thanks, Bobby.
Thank you.
Is there any other public comment?
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Leon Moyer for the record. I couldn't resist. I was surprised also to hear the issue coming up of renegotiating the contract. You know, there's a problem when you compare people in the position here to his position in other towns that are nearby here, because what happens is everybody keeps raising the standard and raising the pay scale by saying we want to pay equal to them or a little more than somebody else because we have a special town manager and he's good. He's done very well here. But that's a problem when you're comparing them, because then the other towns say, well, Fort Myers Beach gave their town manager more money. Now we have to give our town manager more money. And the person that gets hurt here is the taxpayer at the end result. And you should be paying based on merit. And I know you think he's done great, that's good, but he's very well paid. And this happens with other departments also. The fire departments compare themselves among fire departments. And it's not a good policy. You ought to just say, we're a small town, this is what our budget is. He gets a percentage of the budget perhaps, or you know, we can pay a certain amount. And don't pay attention to what the other towns are paying, because if he likes working here, he will stay here without the money. It's not just the money. He enjoys his work because he's done it his lifetime. He's good at it, and he's getting a reward and satisfaction from living on the beach here. There are many other advantages. So I wanted to say that I don't think you did the right thing here by amending it. It wasn't on the agenda. Maybe someone could legally set it aside if they wanted to. Thank you.
Thank you. Is there any other public comment? Public comment is closed. Town manager items.
First of all, thank you all, and thank you, Councilor Saracita, for the clarification. I just want to make sure everyone is aware on council that we have two events coming up, the Shrimp Festival Parade and, of course, the St. Patty's Day Parade. The town is prepared to have a vehicle in both of those events if you would like to participate and ride on the town vehicle. So I just want to make sure that you're aware of that, and the town staff will be appropriately decorating a vehicle for both of those events. So if you would like to ride with us, please let us know.
And I've already indicated to you that I will do both. I'd love to participate in those, represent
Vice
the
Mayor.
town.
And that's the announcements I have for today.
Attorney items?
Nothing.
Nothing.
Thank you.
Councilmember items and reports. Anita?
I just wanted to, I already mentioned that the St. Patrick's Day Parade is on the 16th, not on the 17th. And we had talked before about reviewing the policy and procedure manual with whoever is elected tomorrow at a future meeting. And I'd just like to clarify in those policies and procedures, Michelle, if you can remind me about this, the whole award thing. Remember, we were talking about should it be the St. Patrick or the 4th of July meeting parade? Maybe Tom should head up all the parades. I mean, we just need to talk about it, decide, and memorialize it in our policies and procedures. And then I think the same thing with the reviews. We need to memorialize it within the confines of our policies and procedures manual. What time of year? Does it change if there's an election year? If it's an election year because you want the current council to do the review, we should just memorialize it in that manual and come up with a policy that we apply, comprehensively and consistently throughout whatever. And then the only other thing I have is to congratulate all the shrimp princesses, and I personally know 3 of them very well, and they're just, the other night at St. Raphael's, they're just extraordinary young women, and it was lovely, and I wish them all very good luck. That's all.
Dennis?
The only thing I have, Tracy, is to wish you well in the future, and it's been a pleasure working with you for the last 3 years.
You too. Thank you so much. Joanne?
Couple things. You're talking about the shrimp princesses. I can't agree more, and I won't say more about the shrimp parade other than I'm totally excited, and I know how hard you work on that, Tracy, and you'll keep doing that. But it kind of makes you wonder that in 2019, if we shouldn't have some like Neptunes too or something in there, some shrimp princesses, some of the fine young men on the island that we could why not? Why not have a few King Neptunes out there or whatever? I don't know.
Edisonia does it.
Huh?
The Edison Parade does it. It is the whole Edison Festival. There's male and female.
Yeah, I know working with the Art Association, I've had some of the young artists come through, and there's just a great group of young men on our island too. So it might be nice to honor them as well. I just want 2 things. I met Daphne Bircher, and she's an employee. She is going to do she seems very customer service oriented, and she's going to be assisting in voluntary compliance for code, and then ease of regulation and oversight for short-term rentals. She's a very impressive individual. Thank you, Roger, for bringing in another good hire. And while I was meeting with her, I also took the opportunity to read the short-term rental letter that went out, letting people know that, you have to register, Basically, it was a polite warning letter that it's time to do it. I thought the letter was well done, and I just wanted to thank you for that. The only other thing was I wanted to congratulate, there was a number of employees that got a lovely letter complimenting them from somebody who had gone through they specifically mentioned Jason, Sarah, and Jack, that they were responsive, knowledgeable, and very professional in working with them in getting a building permit through our offices, and it's always nice when we get those letters. And then another thing I wanted to bring forward was something that Michelle mentioned. It's on the website, Calling All Islanders. Vacancies exist on some of our advisory committees, and that would be...
Why is there so many?
Yeah. Bay Oaks has 1, Crab has 3, Public Safety has 1, and Historic Preservation has 2. So if you're interested in volunteering your time to serve, there's application forms, and you could contact the town clerk regarding that. It's all online as well, but just wanted to bring that forward. And that is it for me. Tracy, I'm going to see you again at our next meeting, and I'm going to thank you and probably get a little weepy at that time. So I'll see you in a couple more weeks.
Probably see me before then. We're pretty good
Yes.
friends. I want to just to throw it out there. The short-term rental hotline, for those who don't know it, is 1-435-787-4357. Again, 1-435-787-4357. If you have an issue with a short-term rental, that's a 24/7 number that you can call. I also want to take note that we have a dignitary here, Jason Vaughn of the City of Sanibel Council. And I didn't know if you wanted to say something or if you're just here listening.
Oh, Jason, you have no idea.
Wait, Jason, come talk. He's one of our great water quality advocates, too. He's amazing.
Thank you, Mayor. Hello, Jason Moore, I'm a City of Sanibel resident and a city councilman out there. I've lived down at Blind Pass for about 40 years. I was thinking about your 1,000 feet because the Captiva panel was discussing whether 50 feet was going to be close enough to hear music coming from a hi-fi radio. So we should watch out for those sort of things. But I would, seeing as I'm here and you've given me the opportunity, I filed papers to run for Ray Rodriguez's suit to represent the islands and continue on with the progress that we've made on water quality. I spent the past year, quite frankly, from early in April, battling to get Governor DeSantis elected, simply because he made the assurance from the start that the Water Management District would be replaced, and that was what our loggerhead was as far as I was concerned up the river. Now that we've got that squared away, and we've got some great people on there, including Chauncey Goss, who's a brother council member, I think we're going to see just get a fair shake, and that's all I ever ask for. Not that either side is paying for a person, but that the person's going to look at these issues and give us a real answer. So to that end, what I see as the next, quote, mission for good citizens on these islands is to make sure we keep up the, well, quite frankly, the assault on the house to make sure that the water in this area is protected. And that the only way that's going to happen is enforcing home rule. If they believe what they say in Tallahassee, then we should be able to look after ourselves, and that's what I'm going to try to do. Thank you very much, Mayor.
Thank you. And everybody should know, during this past year, like after the water crisis, Sanibel, I got real close with the Sanibel Council. They're amazing. You guys are just amazing.
Very kind.
And we all got along really great. I just went out to the ceremony.
The Jordan Marsh, and thank you very much for honoring us by attending.
That
Appreciate
was,
that.
what they do out there is amazing. And I mean, Roger, we should just drive around down there. I mean, we don't have as big area as they have, but wow. Not only, they're like unapologetically pro-citizen, like I wish we were more that way. But everything about their island is just, I love
we made
Sanibel.
a decision, and something I pushed for when we got in was to say, look, you cannot point your fingers at other people if you're going to be doing exactly the same things you're giving out to them about. So that was the purpose of the workup, to get the entire island onto sewer. That's the purpose of upgrading our water treatment plants, and that's the purpose of creating those natural water treatment areas so that we can work on. Then you can turn around and look at other people and say, you need to be doing something upriver or some other place, because that's only fair. And I would expect the same. If I'm going to ask another citizen to do it, I have to expect that I'm going to do the same thing.
And you drove through our construction today, so you see, we're stepping up to the plate as well.
No, I felt like I was driving back to the island. I went, oh my God, I'm going to be bloody late. But thank you very much for letting me speak.
Thank you.
Very
And
kind.
thank you for your friendship, too. The other, Councilman, what was my next thing? No, it was me. I had
you were
something
Councilman.
I have a note here. I wanted to also notice, Anita already talked about the princesses, and I couldn't agree more. These girls are so beautiful and wonderful. We took them to, just the other day, Saturday, we walked from my house down Astoria Boulevard through Times Square to Lynn Hall Park to do our practice walk around and how they're going to go. And they happened to walk by that, what's that guy that does a radio thing?
Ed Ryan.
So he was doing some radio thing with Fran Peters, who is of the Lions Club, and we didn't know she was there, and we were walking, we're like, hi, Fran, and the girls were they were amazing. So everybody come out and support those girls, because they're amazing, and all the businesses that are sponsoring them. And other than that, I just want to say thank you to the community for trusting me with you guys for the past 3 years, and I'm still going to be here. I'm not going anywhere. I'm going to be like Tom. I'm going to be right there, holding whoever gets elected accountable, because I assume whether it's Dennis, well, I'm sure it's going to be Dennis and one other person, I'm going to hold you guys, your feet to the fire. And that Veterans Memorial, I'm not letting go of that one.
Thank you, Tracy. Motion to adjourn?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye, this must have set a record. What do you, hey, Gary, is this a record or what? It is.